country. You don't like our flag. What makes you think that we give a damn about that? There's a million pissed off rednecks just like me. And we're all sick and tired of this bullshit on TV.
Happy Hour is a Tell It As It Is series. You may hear some profanity, things you might find offensive, but that's how I am. I have no filter and no problem telling my point of view. I don't discriminate. I'm simply an asshole to everybody. Hello, everybody. I am back. Sorry for the little bit of missing me. I've had a lot going on, a lot of things that needed my attention. And, work has been kind of crazy. And I am happy to be back. I missed it. I missed reaching out to you guys and talking about things that I think are important. I've actually had this show written for a couple weeks now, and I've had to go in and make changes because some of those stories are now irrelevant. So we are back. I am going to do everything I can to make sure that I keep in touch with you because I thank you guys for listening to my shows. And I actually had a few emails asking if I was okay. So yes, I am okay. I am alive. No medical problems. It's just been a hectic few weeks, and I might have put a little bit too much on my plate, but I think I've got it all squared away and scheduled in a way that this is going to work great. So thank you for still being here and listening to me, and hopefully we got some really good stuff going on. A lot of new things in the works still, as we've got my Adventures with Pappy TV series that we're working on, and that's really gaining a lot of attention. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was in Tucson, Arizona on a radio station, 10:30 a.m. Wake Up Tucson, KVOI. And I was on their third segment of the day, about 8:45 a.m. And we were talking about my show, Adventures with Pappy, and the Kickstarter. And right before the show, literally 3 minutes before the show, I got approval to do some filming in a Old West stunt town called Pinnacle Peak with the Pinnacle Peak Pistoleros. This is a really interesting group of Wild West stunt performers, and I've actually been watching them since I was really, really young. Not this particular crew, but I'm actually fairly close to one of the main people on the show, Heather Woods. And matter of fact, she used to be Pappy's babysitter when Pappy was younger. And what's really cool about it is I wanted to do one of my episodes, have a segment in there about how stunt shows go on and those Wild West stunt shows, because it is a family-friendly atmosphere. You've got a steakhouse there, little shops, and it's like an Old West town. And then, of course, you've got the awesome stunt show. And what I like about it is being able to show people how they really put those on, what goes on into putting those shows on. And you'll see that there's really a lot of work. Now, what's really cool is they're writing a special role for Pappy. I'm actually going to be acting in this stunt show. So it's going to be on July 16th, Pinnacle Peak in Tucson, Arizona, if you're in that area. You can also go to my Facebook page, Adventures with Pappy, and click the events page to learn a little bit more about it. Now, we will be filming both Monday and Tuesday of the show. Monday will be the behind the scenes and getting me ready for my stunts. And then Tuesday, we will be filming the whole show. So anybody that shows up, they know that they're going to be part of my TV series. We did start up a new email for Adventures with Pappy. That would be adventureswithpappy00@gmail.com. If you want to reach out on there, you can do that as well. Got the new YouTube page for Adventures with Pappy, called Adventures with Pappy. That way I can kind of separate Pappy Hour with Adventures with Pappy and, keep it, I don't know how to say this. Keep it the way it should be, those two things separate. even though they all kind of combine together, we want to make sure that everybody understands that, Adventures with Pappy is different from Pappy Hour. So got some interesting stories to talk about today. I'm really excited about, and we're going to get started with those in just a second. I don't know if you've gotten to see the new Aladdin movie yet. That was actually a really, really great movie. And I took my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, and let's just say I've learned how to play Magic Carpet Ride by putting a blanket on the ground and listening to them sing A Whole New World over and over and over again. But the fact that they keep singing over and over again makes me like it even more, because I love listening to my little kids sing songs, especially songs from movies, and especially songs that I know. It was great. They did a lot of stuff kind of like the old cartoons, but then they added some new stuff, kind of got it more up to date and all that. And Will Smith actually did a really good job as the genie, I thought. I really suggest, if you've got a chance to take your kids to see this movie, do it. It's worth it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 Pappy stars because I really, really enjoyed it. Another movie that I just recently saw that I thought was really, really cool is Night School. Now, I know that's been out for a while, but it just got released on HBO not recently. And, stars Kevin Hart. And I've got to tell you, this was funny. I love Kevin Hart movies. This guy is hilarious. I would love to see this guy in show. So it was a good laugh. So I gave that one a 4 out of 5. It's been kind of interesting, with Memorial Day just recently passing in the United States here. A lot of war shows and stuff are on HBO, Netflix, Hulu, and all that. So I've been kind of watching a lot of documentaries and stuff like that. And it's been kind of interesting. And, I've been binge watching Band of Brothers, a lot of the documentaries on D-Day and stuff like that. So you get a chance to, you should really check out some of those. Band of Brothers is a really good show too as well. So we've got some new stuff that's circulating on the news that I think it might make sense for me to talk about, because this is stuff that I want to share with you. And first one would be Alabama. Okay, I don't know if you recently heard, but Alabama lawmakers passed a bill to allow chemical castration for sex crimes. I think this is a fabulous, fabulous idea. So Alabama just recently approved a law that will require, as a condition of parole, that some convicted sex offenders undergo chemical castration. Okay, the new law will mean that those abuse children under the age of 13 will be injected with hormone-blocking drugs before leaving prison as a condition of their parole. And what's interesting is they start this treatment before they get released, and then they have to continue the treatment after. Now, there's a lot of people saying, well, isn't this a violation of fundamental human rights? Well, my thoughts, wasn't it a violation that they abused and raped or, whatever they did to a 13-year-old or a child or anybody in general? I don't care if it's a child or an adult or whatnot. Sex crimes are horrific. And matter of fact, I believe that surgical castration might even be better. That's just my opinion. A lot of people say, well, they have, human rights. Well, what about the human rights they took away from the person that they attacked? What about the long-standing effects of the person they attacked? Who's to say these people deserve a better life than the people they attacked? A lot of people try to claim that it's a mental illness. Now, I did a lot of research on this, particular fact before I want to talk about it, because I want to make sure I was clear. I knew what I was talking about. And everything I read says that people that commit sex crimes, it is not a mental illness. It's all kinds of other contributing facts, whether it be the way they were raised, they could have been victims of sex crime themselves, too much testosterone, too much rage, drinking, there's all these other things. But sex crimes, or the ability to commit them, is not a mental illness. And that's from what I read, but I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor, so I'm not actually quoting that. But again, I believe surgical castration would be best. I mean, hell, they've already been protected in prison. They have to be put in a special location so that they're not killed, because there is an unwritten rule in prison that, no matter what you do in life, you don't commit crimes against children. if you do, you probably won't live through jail. And I kind of agree with that. I'm okay with that. But this new law, they say, is set to take effect in September. And, what's interesting is parolees also have to pay for this. So in order for them to get paroled, they have to start paying for this. So this is not a taxpayer-funded bill. Okay? And if they can't afford to pay for it, then they stay in jail, which I'm perfectly fine with that as well. But in order to get out of jail, they have to start this treatment and continue this treatment until the courts say that, it's fully in effect and is working. So therefore, they are no longer a threat in that sense. So again, they pay for it themselves, or they rot in jail, and I don't see any problem with that at all. But what's interesting is apparently in 1996, California was the first of its kind in the United States to have something like this, but they offered it more so, from what I got out of this, as a voluntary response from the person that committed the crime to get out of jail early or to get on parole. So it's not required. But then there's also provisions that some of the other states have, like Florida, Louisiana, Wisconsin. They also have provisions in their laws in regarding to this. Now, there's a lot of people that are opposing this law. They're saying it's human rights violation, it's against the Constitution, and that there are potential side effects as well that will affect this person long term. And some of those side effects that have been noted are hair loss, breast growth, weight gain, diabetes, and bone loss. Okay, I could care less about the effects that that have to go through, possibly because they committed sex crimes against a child. Because what about the long-lasting effects that we have to deal with for this child, or this child has to deal with for the rest of their lives? I think that's something very minimal. As a matter of fact, again, I still believe surgical castration is going to be the way to go for any sex crime. It doesn't matter how old they are. And they also say that the treatment does not work on women. And there's only about 7% of registered sex offenders are actually women. So this is kind of interesting thing. So I say, way to go, Alabama. Way to go, Governor Kay Ivey. You guys are finally, starting to protect children. And I applaud you for that. Now, the 2020 election is coming up, and I'm not real big on talking about the elections, but I got to tell you that this is turning out to be quite the circus. Looking at all these people that are nominating themselves to get in here. The Democratic nominee list is flooded. Okay, right now, from what I'm getting out of it, 22 people have nominated themselves for this thing. And then Republicans, there's 2 nominees right now. Now, a couple of the Democratic, nominees that have been there, like Bernie Sanders, I don't know how many times this guy is going to run. I think it's more so not necessarily to win the presidential election. He's just running to keep his name in there, to keep the money flowing for him, so that he stays, somewhat important in life. I know that this guy, he has to honestly, in his mind, know he is not going to win. Recently, he talked about something, $15 maximum wage, the most that anybody can make. So everybody in the world, or not in the world, the United States, can only max out at $15 an hour. So nobody can make more than everybody else. It's ridiculous. He already lost his election before he even started, but he definitely did it now. Elizabeth Warren, she, honestly, does she even think she has a chance? She has a better chance of claiming a higher Indian percentage than actually being chosen as a Democratic ticket. Then you got that Pete Buttigieg. Okay, he lost. We talked about him a few episodes ago when I mentioned that he said that America was never great. And then what's interesting is I actually had somebody arguing with me through Facebook on that for a little bit. And as soon as I sent him the clip, boom, it was done, because he kept trying to say, that's not what he said. That's not how he said it. But as soon as I sent the clip, it was done. It was over. So that was really cool. And then there's several others that are on that Democratic ticket. Most of them we've never even heard of. But honestly, I think the touchy-feely Joe Biden is going to get the Democratic nod for that, which I don't think he's going to win at all because he is really just off the chain right now, off the chain. So unless he can get his touchy-feely thing out of the way and, stop making an ass of himself, I guess he might stand a chance, but I really don't think he will. So those of us that are not fans of the iPhone, which I am not, the iPod is back. Now, I am a fan of the iPod because I don't like to download a lot of music onto my phone because it slows your phone down and takes away data for other things. And so I'm excited about this. Okay, so it's been since 2015. Okay, now I'm not promoting the iPod in any way, just telling you now. But, it is a pretty interesting fact to talk about. So since 2015, iPod has not come out with any new models. Okay, and the new iPod Touch is going to start at roughly $199 for a 32 gig machine, and then it goes all the way up to 256 gigs for $399. Now, apparently, this is supposed to be like 2 times faster, 3 times in better graphics because you're able to download videos, and it's supposed to do something with group FaceTime. You're able to actually group FaceTime on this. So, it's supposed to be a big deal now. Now, I'm kind of excited about it. I'm probably going to wait until after Christmas just so that they can get all the bugs out of it, if there are any bugs. But I still have my old iPod and use it all the time when I'm in the car. It stays plugged into the car, as a matter of fact. I don't even take it around anyplace else with me. So that was kind of cool. I've got some interesting stuff. I always like to talk about history and stuff like that. And I was reading this thing that talks about the similarities and the coincidences between Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Okay, so it's really interesting, and you can actually see it on Snopes, SNOPES.com. It's fact check Lincoln Kennedy. Okay, so listen to this. This is really interesting stuff. Okay, now, and I've seen this on other sites too, so I'm pretty sure this is, numbers are accurate. I don't know about some of the other stuff, but any sense this could be a conspiracy theory thing, whatnot. But so Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. Exactly 100 years later, JFK was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. The names Lincoln and Kennedy each contain 7 letters. Both were particularly concerned about civil rights. Both wives lost their children or a child while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary, Kennedy, warned him not to go to the theater. Kennedy's secretary, Lincoln, warned him not to go to Dallas. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners. Both successors were named Johnson. So both people that took over the presidency were Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who killed Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, who killed Kennedy, was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their 3 names, John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald. Both names are comprised of 15 letters. Booth ran from the theater and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. So I thought that was really interesting that how these numbers coincide, with everything. Is it just a coincidence? You know, um, I was looking at the numbers, and it's like 100-year difference, but everything's kind of crazy on that. I'm not saying it's some crazy, conspiracy theory and not. I just thought it was kind of an interesting coincidence, and a lot of people, might never have known about. So that was kind of cool. Alrighty. So my rant. Been a little while since I ranted, but I'm seeing more and more and more about this measles outbreak in the United States, and it's getting ridiculous. Okay, more than 800 cases of measles have been confirmed in this year already in the U.S. Now, in 2000, the disease was declared eliminated in the U.S. by the CDC, but then that was due to the widespread use of MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccines. So 55 years ago, in 1963, they finally developed the measles vaccine. Okay, there is so much misinformation. Okay, now it's changed a lot. The measles vaccine has changed a lot, and it's gotten even safer and safer and safer. I'm pretty sure 55 years ago it wasn't as safe as it is now, and because they use different chemicals and stuff like that. But there's so much misinformation, or better yet, fake news about the vaccines. Okay, I do not understand why parents would be so stupid and put their kids' health in jeopardy, risk their kids' lives. There is scientific proof. There is no ties to the vaccine causing autism, okay, which is the fake news I was talking about. Seriously, though, anti-vaxxers, you need to educate yourself. Like, actually educate, not read anti-vax sites, because that is not what you need. You need to read the CDC. You need to read, actual medical data, not just some fact guy or fact checker that works for an anti-vaccine, group. Okay, read the actual medical stuff. Okay, or it's not just because some celebrity comes out and then says my kid got autism from the MMR, you shouldn't do it. Yada yada, and just because a celebrity says so doesn't mean it's true. Okay, so before the vaccine was created and used, 3 to 4 million people were infected in the U.S. Okay, so let's get vaccinated. Now, a lot of could be coming from third world countries, people going to visit, but then you're not going to bring it back with you if you're vaccinated. Okay, if you are not vaccinated, you bring it back and you're sick, you get other people sick. You're a carrier. So therefore, you're part of the problem. So get vaccinated. Get your children vaccinated. Okay, there's a reason why we have it, and there's a reason why, we don't want it to spread. It can kill your children having measles, having mumps, having rubella. So, please, I know for a fact that, my kids, I keep them vaccinated because I want to make sure that they stay healthy. They have long, happy lives. And because I've actually done my research and I know the medical world out there, and I know that the vaccinations they take are not going to cause, autism or, other kinds of medical problems as well. I mean, yeah, you still take the chance of getting sick, but you've increased the probability of not getting sick by taking these vaccinations. So please, for your kids, for your family, for your kids, friends in school, let's do this. Let's eliminate this thing again. Let's get vaccinated. Okay. Now, I have my useless facts. Okay, I'm gonna get a drink real quick. All right. So a lot of people like my useless facts that I come up with. And I actually get a lot of comments on that, which is really, really cool. So thank you for everybody for that. So I've got a couple useless facts for you again. Okay. Back in 1950, more than 80% of all men in the United States had a job. Today, less than 65% of all men in the United States have a job. So that's a big drop. Big drop. There are 3 towns in the United States with the name Santa Claus in them. You have Santa Claus, Georgia, Santa Claus, India, and the most unlikely place in the world to have a Santa Claus, Arizona. I don't know why we have a Santa Claus here in Arizona, because right now it's 112 degrees outside, and I'm pretty sure as hell Santa Claus would not be here. Just does not make sense. The next one is, whoever said Americans were crazy is 100% right. More people have been diagnosed with mental disorder in the U.S. than any other place in the world. And I really don't know why, but I got to tell you, I think that's pretty interesting, and I had to look it up because I was like, yeah, this has got to be fake news. Nope, it's legit. Yeah. And there's a lot of medical studies on it. And it could be because we in the United States have more freedoms than a lot of other people do. So maybe that's what contributes to it. I don't know. But I still love my freedoms. Now, one of the new segments that we've been doing, we started on the last show, was This Week in History. So this is kind of cool. And this isn't just always U.S. history. I try to find things in other countries as well, especially countries that we have listeners in. And, we are downloaded all over the world. And, I think it's really cool that we have listeners in other countries. So thank you for listening in. So This Week in History. So we are in June. As of recording this episode, it is June 13th of 2019. Okay. June 11th, 1994. After 49 years, the Soviet military occupation of East Germany ended. At one time, there had been 337,800 Soviet troops stationed in Germany. Now, during World War II, in the Battle for Berlin, Russia lost 300,000 military people. So I thought that was really interesting. I did not know, I graduated in 1994 from high school. I had no idea that the Soviet military still occupied East Germany. I had no idea. All right, June 13th, 1966, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the case of Miranda versus Arizona that an accused person must be apprised of certain rights before police questioning, including the right to remain silent, the right to know that anything said and can be used against the individual in court, the right to have a defense attorney present during interrogation. Okay, now, this is something that police officers are supposed to inform somebody that is being arrested. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have a right to attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. And then they ask you, do you understand these rights? They're supposed to. So that's kind of interesting. And I had no idea that the Miranda rights were actually due to a reason of an arrest in Arizona. So that was kind of cool. Let's see here. June 14th, 1775, the first U.S. military service, the Continental Army, consisting of 6 companies of riflemen, was established by the Second Continental Congress. The next day, George Washington was appointed by unanimous vote to command the Army, in which we know that has led to the independence of the United States and our constitutional rights. So thank you, George, and thank you, Continental Army. Then, on the same day, June 14th, but in 1777, John Adams, which was our second president, introduced a resolution before Congress mandating the United States flag, stating that the flag of 13 United States shall be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, which on white on the blue field, representing the new constellation. This anniversary is celebrated each year as U.S. Flag Day. So it was 13 original colonies that were on that flag. Now, the flag has obviously changed because we have 50 stars, but we still have 13 stripes. And those are to represent the original colonies. Now, I did an episode a little while back explaining Flag Day and then, why it's so important. And Flag Day is actually coming up tomorrow in the United States, so that's kind of cool. Then on June 14th is an important day, but this one was in 1922. Warren G. Harding became the first U.S. president to broadcast a message over the radio. So that's kind of cool. And it was a dedication to Francis Scott Key, or the Francis Scott Key Memorial in Baltimore. He's the one that wrote our national anthem. And then June 14th again, but in 1951, UNIVAC 1, the world's first commercial electronic computer, was unveiled in Philadelphia. It was installed at the Census Bureau and utilized a magnetic tape unit as a buffer memory. Now, what's interesting is those computers are not as small as we know our computers today. They used to take up rooms and rooms and rooms of space. So that was kind of cool. So those are my interesting historical facts of the week. Now, we have a lot of tornadoes going on back east, Oklahoma, all that area down there. I want to shout out to anybody that listens in those states, and anybody that doesn't listen. Be safe. Those tornadoes are nothing to play with. I mean, I've been watching videos of people, still playing soccer, and there's a tornado behind them. Get out of harm's way. Get someplace safe. Be safe. My prayers are out to everybody that is being affected by those tornadoes back east. Well, that's about it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Please check out and download our apps on Google Play and iTunes. That way you can take me everywhere you go and listen to my show whenever you want. So even if you're having some withdrawals because I haven't gotten on the air, you could still go back and listen to some older episodes, because I'm finding a lot of people are going back and listening to the older episodes as well. So they're listening again. That way, it doesn't matter. You're sitting on the toilet, you're out at the beach drinking a margarita, all that. You can listen in, share the podcast with your friends, let them know what you like about it. Send me some messages if you want. You can email me at ryanispappy00@gmail.com. And you can also check out and like our Facebook page. It's Pappy Hour. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ryan is Pappy. Not only can you listen to my shows, you get some crazy funny videos that you can watch. For instance, some of the gags that I like to pull on family members and whatnot. And then we also have our page, Adventures with Pappy, on YouTube. Make sure you check that out. We actually have an episode or a video on there. Actually, I take that back. That video is on our Facebook page, Adventures with Pappy, where I am doing my filming in an old abandoned school that's part of a ghost town. And you can hear a piano playing. Now, there is a piano in the building that is no longer functioning. It is broken and destroyed. But my viewers have told me, hey, I hear a piano in the background. And that was before I even started talking about it. So, and it's also interesting is Ghost Adventures had the same thing happen to them. So check that out, Adventures with Pappy on Facebook. And let's see what else. Thanks again. I really appreciate everybody that listens all over the world, all over the United States. Keep listening in. Let me know what we can do to make the show a little bit better. If there's something you want me to talk about or you want my opinion about, make sure you send me a message. You can do that on my Facebook page. Again, that is Ryan is Pappy, or Pappy Hour. And or you can send me an email, ryanispappy00@gmail.com. Take care, everybody, and I am happy to be back, and hopefully we will have another show to you soon.
You don't like our traditions. You say we've done you wrong. Why don't you pack up your bags and take your ass back home? This is my home, and son, I'm mad as hell. I think whooping your ass is worth a couple nights in jail. There's a million pissed off rednecks just like me, and we're all sick and tired of this bullshit called PC. I guess you didn't know, but you don't mess with gently. If you have a right to burn my flag, and I have a right to kick your ass.